The answer is clear to those who have studied the issue, but it seems that special interest groups and a lot of our political leaders are trying to prevent us from using these abundant resources that we've been blessed with. The United States is the Saudi Arabia of coal. There's a 250-year supply right here in the United States. Coal furnishes about 50% of our nation's energy at 1/3 the cost of some of the other fuels that we have to use to generate electricity. Our industry has been at work for years on reducing emissions from coal plants and continues to invent technology that makes electricity production from coal cleaner and more environmentally friendly. But yet proposed legislation seeks to hamstring this resource by imposing outrageous taxes and other penalties on its use. Actions to mitigate greenhouse gases from power plants threaten to have an economic impact greater than any other issue that we've dealt with in a long time. Here's what the real cost will be to you and me. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce concludes the cost to each family could be as high as $4,000 a year. The Electric Power Research Institute reports the cost of the U.S. economy could be nearly $3 trillion, that's with a T, $3 trillion, meaning a doubling or tripling of electric bills. At the same time, a poll by the National Center for Public Policy Research found that 71% of Americans solidly reject spending more for electricity to reduce greenhouse gases. While an overwhelming majority of us do not want these added costs, the politicians are determined on going full speed ahead with climate change legislation. And no wonder many of us are frustrated with our politicians. Unfortunately, there's even more. If legislation like the Lieberman Warner bill passes, it doesn't stop at just higher electric bills. The effect will ripple throughout our economy with higher prices of consumer goods and some lost jobs as well. And it appears that maybe all three presidential candidates endorsed this bill, but a lot of people are standing up against it now. While our politicians are trying to penalize us for electric generation from coal, China is bringing one 500 megawatt coal plant online every week. India also plans to add another 200 coal plants over the next 7 years. So the U.S. is becoming a major coal exporter. We're sending coal to China, India, and others for power plants where there is much less concern for the environment than we have right here at home. I think we would be much better off, much better served if we used our technology here. I think coal can be part of the solution. Nuclear power is even cheaper to produce than coal, but we still have only 104 working nuclear plants in this country, the same number as we had 10 years ago. Excessive regulation and unfounded fears have made nuclear plants too expensive to build. So you say, well, how about other sources that we could use? Why not generate with natural gas or solar or wind power? And there are many good reasons not to depend on just these sources. It takes a combination of everything. A lot of you may have seen the headline just 11 days ago in the Atlanta Journal and Constitution that read, "Natural gas hits record. Ripple effect likely this fall." It used to be that natural gas dropped to its lowest price during the summer, which meant that we could use it for electric generation. But that's not the case anymore. And if prices stay this high during what's supposed to be the lowest cost time of the year, what will it be like later on? Renewable energy has severe limits as well. Solar arrays are extremely expensive. The kilowatt-hour cost of solar electricity is 5 to 10 times what you pay for traditionally generated power. It also takes about 9,800 acres of solar panels to equal the output of one typical coal-fired plant, making a solar plant of any size almost impossible. You say, well, what about wind? Well, in Georgia, we just don't have the wind to make turbines viable. And when the wind does blow, it's not blowing at the right time when we need electricity, and that's on hot summer afternoons. And even in places in the United States that have enough wind to generate some electricity, only about 13% of the time do they actually generate enough electricity to be viable. When we think about coal, who would have thought that the chemical compound all humans and animals exhale with each breath, carbon dioxide, would be classified as a pollutant? Volcanoes emit more greenhouse gases than man does, and oceans are even another major source of greenhouse gas. There are no quick, easy answers or fixes. We must proceed slowly and seek solutions from many different sources. Any steps taken need to protect our standard of living, our ability to compete globally, and our national security. The special interest groups have spoken. They're against everything. I think now it's time for consumers, people with common sense, to let their voice be heard. And I don't think we can remain silent on this issue and expect that things will stay the way they are. And that's why Sonny, Mr. Turner, Howard Turner has already mentioned today about the cards. I know a lot of you have already filled them out. But if you haven't filled this card out, consider it. One, you have this wallet card that have questions that you can ask your elected officials. And then the other card is one that either you can fill out and we'll send the letter for you, or you can send the letter to yourself to our congressman. I think this is very important for us to speak out for things that we know that are better for our country. And remember, your information, if you fill your name and all on there, the information won't be used for anything else, only to write our congressman and let them know how we feel. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to our Walton EMC employees. We have a very dedicated workforce, and they strive to do the best of the job they can to provide the best possible service 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And I know a lot of you recognize that because you've told me that and you've sent me letters thanking for what our employees do. I personally know that our employees enjoy serving me. That's what a cooperative is all about, serving its members. And I want to sincerely thank our employees for what they do for our members. Again, thank you for your attention and patience today. It's important for us to be aware of the information that we've gone over. Electric cooperatives are charged with looking out for their members, and I want to make sure that Walton EMC does all it can to keep rates as low as possible and the service as high as possible. Thank you again very much for listening today.